accomplished nothing. He's not even a champion. And he's not even in my weight class already. And, you know, it's a lot of things there that doesn't make sense. And plus, at this point in my career, I can do it.
Canelo didn't mince words when talking about Crawford. He dismissed him as a weak opponent, pointing out that Crawford hasn't achieved much, doesn't hold any titles, and doesn't belong in his weight class. But Canelo didn't stop there. He emphasized that his confidence isn't just bravado, it's rooted in how he feels inside the ring. "I feel strong and calm right now," he said. "It's boxing, but no one can beat me at the moment." Though he stressed that he meant no disrespect to other fighters, many of whom he considers great, his comments revealed a clear understanding of his own standing in the sport. Canelo believes he's operating on a level no one else can reach. He remains sharp, experienced, and as dangerous as ever. His focus is on building a lasting legacy, though opinions about his status in the sport remain divided. Despite widespread respect for his achievements, not everyone sees him as the best. Among the critics is former world champion and boxing analyst Paolo Malignaggi, who challenged the popular narrative around the Canelo versus Crawford debate, offering a perspective that flipped the conversation entirely.
Was originally thinking Crawford might be too small. I think Crawford is a way more complete fighter than Canelo ever was. I think Crawford is just, the only risk here is Crawford's small. You think about it though, Duran was a former lightweight and he was able to beat Iran Barkley eventually, right? So it's not out of the question. And this Canelo is not the prime Canelo.
Paolo Malignaggi shared his thoughts on why he sees Crawford as the more complete boxer. While he acknowledged the significant size difference between the two, he pointed to history as proof that smaller fighters can defy the odds. For Malignaggi, it's not just about weight, it's about skill, and in that regard, he believes Crawford has the edge. His take, though bold, ignited valuable conversation throughout the boxing community. Despite Canelo's blunt criticism, he didn't entirely dismiss Crawford. While he downplayed the significance of a potential fight, Canelo still recognized Crawford's achievements and talent in a separate interview, offering a rare note of respect in what's otherwise been a fiery debate.
This one is Terence Crawford.
Good fighter.
Okay.
Canelo acknowledged Crawford as a skilled fighter and recognized his impact on the sport, but he stood firm in his belief that Crawford doesn't pose a real threat. His compliment felt more like a polite gesture than a genuine endorsement. For Canelo, the facts remain unchanged. He's strategic about who earns his focus, and Crawford doesn't meet that threshold in his eyes. On the other side, Paolo Malignaggi didn't just praise Crawford, he also openly criticized Canelo. In another segment, Malignaggi went further, questioning what he sees as a decline in Canelo's fighting spirit. For him, it's not just about stats or skill, it's about the mental toughness needed in the sport's most demanding moments, something he believes Canelo is starting to lack.
Like Canelo was trying to steal bags while half-assing it. When Canelo has been put in tough situations, in the moments where he's had to really dig down, what has he done? He hasn't really dug down and gone for broke in fights where he's been losing. He just kind of accepted the loss.
We saw Bivol.
We saw that with Floyd too. Well, early on with Floyd too. People will say that he was young, but he never really took a risk in the Floyd fight once he was outclassed. He just accepted it, like, all right, this guy.
Malignaggi pointed to key moments in Canelo's career where, in his view, the Mexican star failed to respond like a true fighter, especially when things weren't going his way. He argued that today's Canelo isn't the same driven competitor he once was, suggesting that his focus has shifted more toward big-money fights than legacy-defining performances. Dio support his claims. Malignaggi referenced earlier bouts, including Canelo's loss to Floyd Mayweather, as evidence of how he's struggled under pressure. While his criticism is sharp, it has fueled a broader conversation about Canelo's current standing in the boxing world. Just when the debate seemed to reach its peak, Malignaggi doubled down. He emphasized the contrast in mental toughness between Canelo and Crawford, arguing that the real difference isn't just about skill or size, it's about mindset. For Malignaggi, it comes down to hunger, attitude, and how a fighter responds when the stakes are highest.
Love to see Crawford win because I feel like if Canelo gets this payday, which is going to be a big payday, and then also gets the win out of it, it's just too much of a reward for outright ducking Benavidez and being allowed to duck his mandatory contender while holding all the belts hostages at 168 pounds for so long and not letting that weight class run its course.
Paolo Malignaggi believes a Canelo win would send the wrong message, rewarding behaviors like dodging mandatory challenges, stalling division progress, and choosing low-risk, high-reward fights. He specifically criticized the ongoing delay in Canelo facing David Benavidez, the rightful contender at 168 pounds. In Paulie's eyes, Canelo's collection of belts without defending them properly has done more harm than good for the division. That's why he's backing Crawford, not just as the underdog but as a fighter who could disrupt the status quo. Paulie's stance is less about personal rivalry and more about frustration with how the sport is managed at the elite level. While Pauli tackled the political and psychological dimensions of the matchup, renowned trainer Ronnie Shields steered the conversation back to fundamentals. In a recent interview, Shields praised Crawford, not for media buzz, but for what he demonstrates in the ring. Having trained world champions, Shields' endorsement carries real weight.
Let me tell you something, man. Terence Crawford is one of the smartest fighters I've ever seen. Very smart, always in shape, you know. And he can figure out anybody. And it don't make a difference if it's two weight classes or not. If you have it here, and you have the skills to match this, that's tough to do. No matter who you are. It's not about power. Just because you're strong don't mean you're going to win. You know? That doesn't work. You got to have the skills in this game. And Terence Crawford has the skills to fight anybody in the world.
Ronnie Shields described Crawford as one of the smartest fighters he's ever encountered, praising his ability to stay in top condition, adapt on the fly, and break down any opponent, regardless of size or weight class. For Shields, it's not about raw power or physical size. It's about technique, intelligence, and discipline. He firmly believes Crawford has the tools to beat anyone, including a powerhouse like Canelo. Crawford shares that confidence, citing his all-around skill set as what makes him such a dangerous matchup, even at 168 pounds. But Shields didn't stop at highlighting Crawford's strengths. He also made a case for why this fight makes sense at super middleweight. While many point to the size disparity, Shields argues that what Crawford brings to the ring can't be measured on a scale that he owe him. This fight isn't just plausible, it's vital for the sport of boxing.
Canelo would have to make 168. Crawford's not going to have no problem at 168. And like I say,
Ronnie Shields emphasized that Canelo, like any other fighter, would need to make the weight, and that Crawford wouldn't be at a disadvantage. In his view, Crawford's skill set is more than enough to compete and win at super middleweight. For Shields, this isn't just about a single fight, it's about legacy. He drew a powerful comparison to Roy Jones Jr., who moved up in weight and carved out a place in boxing history. Shields believes Crawford is on a similar path, with the potential to make a historic statement of his own. If fans want to see the best face the best, he argued, this is the fight that needs to happen. To reinforce his point, Shields referenced the iconic Mayweather vs. Canelo bout, not to relive the past, but to highlight what truly wins fights. It's not size or strength, it's the mindset, the skills, and the intelligence inside the ring.
Floyd Mayweather for Canelo. Canelo was a bigger fighter. You know, he was bigger, he was stronger. Floyd was smarter. Floyd outsmarted Canelo. That just teaches you and shows you that you don't have to be a power puncher if you're going up 1 or 2 weight divisions. It doesn't work that way. It's here. It's here, your knowledge. Knowledge is king. And it's the same thing with Crawford going up to fight a Canelo Alvarez, two weight divisions. Okay, Canelo probably walks around 190, maybe, or a little bit less, but Crawford probably walks around 180. You know, so 168 is not gonna be a problem for him. You know, and people keep saying, oh, but the weight difference. No, it ain't that. Crawford don't have to kill himself to get to 68.
Ronnie Shields broke down how Mayweather once beat a younger, stronger Canelo, not with power, but with intelligence. He sees that same potential in Crawford, believing he possesses the ring IQ to neutralize size, just like Floyd did. Shields dismissed concerns over the weight gap, pointing out that Crawford is physically close to Canelo in stature and may even be more comfortable at 168 pounds. In fact, he suggested that Canelo might have to cut weight more aggressively than Crawford. For Shields, the question isn't about who's bigger, it's about who's better. And with Crawford's versatile skill set, he believes this is not only a must-see fight but one Crawford can absolutely win. Adding further weight to the conversation, former boxer and trainer Troy Nash shared his personal insights. Nash spoke from direct experience with Crawford, offering not just analysis but a grounded belief in what Crawford brings to the ring. His testimony added an extra layer of conviction to Team Bud's growing momentum.
but Bud actually has a chance of really winning this fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. You know, Canelo, yeah, he probably, people think he's probably the stronger person going into the fight with him been fighting at 168, but he started his career off at, I think, 147 and climbed his way up. So it's not like he was just a person that came in the game that big, you know. Bud is ready though. Like when it comes for fight time, I think Bud's gonna be 100% ready. He trains year round. Like he shows a lot of the young fighters the way, you know. He treats his body good. He doesn't drink, smoke, none of that. So when it's time to fight in a few months and we get to watch them work, I think Bud got a great chance of winning.
Troy Nash, while close to Crawford, emphasized that his opinion isn't rooted in bias but in careful observation. He views the potential matchup as a true 50-50th fight, reminding fans that Canelo, too, didn't begin his career at a higher weight. He worked his way up, just as Crawford is doing now. What stands out most to Nash is Crawford's unwavering discipline and lifestyle. He trains year-round, takes meticulous care of his body, and maintains sharp focus even in the absence of a scheduled fight. For Nash, that level of dedication is what gives Crawford a real edge when the bell rings. Though Nash firmly supports Crawford's chances, he made a point to respect Canelo and his legacy. In a thoughtful follow-up, he acknowledged the criticism Canelo often faces while also recognizing the brilliance that has made him a modern boxing icon. For Nash, this fight isn't just about who comes out on top. It's about appreciating the greatness both fighters bring to the ring.
Slept on, man. He doesn't get enough respect and credit for what he's done. Canelo's fought, I mean, arguably the best fighters of this generation around his weight class. You know, of course we want to see him fight Benavidez, but besides that, I mean, who hasn't Canelo fought? You know, he went up to fight B-Ball. He fought Caleb Plant. He's in fought all the top guys, so he definitely deserves his credit. And even if he loses this fight, he still needs to be deemed as one of the greatest of our generation. If Bud loses, he needs to be deemed as one of the greatest of our generation. The fans just need to give both of them their credit, win or lose, because they're going to give us the fight that we want.
Troy Nash also pointed out that Canelo doesn't always get the credit he deserves. He's gone up against some of the best fighters of his generation, from Caleb Plant to Dmitry Bivol, and never shied away from a challenge. While many fans are eager to see Canelo face David Benavidez, Nash believes Canelo's resume speaks for itself. Regardless of the outcome, he believes both Canelo and Crawford deserve to be recognized as all-time greats. Nash urged fans to give them their due, not just for stepping into the ring, but for delivering a fight that truly matters. Adding to the discourse, legendary cutman Jacob "Stitch" Duran offered insight from his decades of experience, recalling a conversation with the late Roger Mayweather. With his old-school perspective, Duran emphasized that ability always outweighs size. For him, this fight is about bloodlines, not pounds.
Roger Mayweather, when I worked with him, the late Roger Mayweather, I was talking to him and he says, you know, nowadays, MFers, you know, they have all these different divisions. We used to fight guys of different weights. He goes, it's not the difference in the weights. He goes, it's the caliber of skill level that you have. And I always thought about that, you know. So can he beat Canelo? Of course. You know, can Canelo beat him? Yes. You know, so it's that type of fight. But I'm glad for Canelo because he's at the tail end of his career. You know, talking about Benavidez and all that, but that ship is already sailed. He don't need him. Yeah. You know, but Terence Crawford and Jake Paul, that's gonna happen. That would have been great, you know.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, but that's, you know, nice way for Canelo to finish his career.
Stitch Duran reminisced about how fighters from previous eras often faced opponents from different weight classes, and yet the determining factor was never size, it was skill. This belief is why he feels both Canelo and Crawford are fully capable of defeating one another. In this matchup, it's skill that will ultimately decide the outcome. He also addressed Canelo's current situation, suggesting that while the Benavidez chapter may have closed, this fight could serve as a fitting end to his career, regardless of the result. For Stitch, this is a high-level chess match that not only honors the legacies of both fighters but also gives fans something truly meaningful to discuss afterwards. After expressing admiration for both fighters, Stitch, known for his no-nonsense approach, shared his honest take on how the fight might unfold. Without sugarcoating or adding to the hype, his calm, measured prediction was rooted in years of experience.
If I was, I don't bet, but if I was going to bet one way or the other, I'd go the distance fight. You know, I think Terence Crawford's smart enough to move for 12 rounds. You know, you're talking about getting hit solid. He has to get hit solid by Canelo. So, yeah, that'd be my prediction on that.
Definitely was.
So don't go bet money on me now.
Stitch Duran shared that if he had to make a prediction, he expects the fight to go the distance. He believes Crawford is smart, capable, and disciplined enough to avoid serious trouble for all 12 rounds. While it's always tough to avoid taking a clean shot from someone like Canelo, Stitch trusts that Crawford's ring IQ will help him navigate through it. Still, he joked that he's not a gambler and advised against taking his word at the betting window. But, coming from someone with ringside experience and decades of insight, his perspective adds a unique layer to a fight that has the entire boxing world on edge. Legendary boxing analyst Jim Lampley rounded out the conversation with a powerful, history-rooted viewpoint. Having called many of Crawford's biggest moments and closely followed his development, Lampley's words about Bud's ambition carry real weight in the sport.
Right. The problem is that Canelo's bigger, and he's significantly bigger. And in addition to being larger, Canelo's greatest capability, talent, my way of thinking in the ring is that you cannot hurt him. He has the best punch resistance in boxing. So the notion of the smaller, more lithe Terence Crawford going in and scoring a rampaging knockout over Canelo Alvarez, I just don't see it. I think he has to focus on trying to win the fight over the long course of the fight, create action and punishment over 12 rounds and look to win a decision. Will probably throw more punches than...
Jim Lampley pointed out that the bout begins with a significant weight disparity of around 21 pounds, a factor that cannot be overlooked. While Crawford brings speed, skill, and heart, Canelo boasts natural size and strength honed over time in higher weight classes. Lampley called Canelo the obvious favorite due to this physical advantage, believing it may be too much for Crawford to overcome. This isn't a slight against Crawford, but rather the hard reality of boxing when two powerful fighters from different divisions square off. Legendary promoter Bob Arum also weighed in on the discussion. Having worked closely with Terence Crawford for most of his career, Arum knows exactly what Bud is capable of. While he acknowledged the size difference, he made it clear that if anyone can defy the odds, it's Crawford.
With Canelo and Terence, but if any fighter has a chance with Canelo, it's Terence. Terence is a super talent, and he has a real chance, despite the weight disparity, to beat Canelo. A real chance.
Bob Arum acknowledged the obvious. Canelo is the naturally larger fighter, and that physical advantage is a major factor in this matchup. However, he also described Crawford as a super talent, someone with a rare ability to overcome significant physical disadvantages. For Arum, the weight difference doesn't eliminate Crawford's chances. It actually raises the stakes, making the fight even more compelling. He sees it as more than just a tough challenge. It's an opportunity that could define Crawford's legacy. Despite the odds, Arum believes there's a real possibility that this fight could shock the world. Expanding on his earlier thoughts, Arum gave a deeper analysis of how he sees the fight playing out, drawing on decades of experience and his extensive knowledge of the sport. With the confidence only a seasoned promoter could have, he didn't hesitate to take a side.